Yeah, so what I really loved about this one is the simplicity and the striking yellow, which also is a textured paper, which is just adds that little extra thing, you know, because it creates tiny shadows. And the fact that he is like bigger than the photo, almost like he's outgrown his own village, and just really simple. But I'm always drawn to collage, and when it's minimal like this, and it tells a story so beautifully, it's just really fascinating for me.
And simple is really hard to do well, isn't it?
Totally, 100%.
It's three elements and they have to work really well, and they do, the composition's beautiful.
Yes, you're so right. Yeah, it's even harder.
So this one is just so enchanting, isn't it? It's really quite magical looking. So I think it's a photo cut out, put onto a background that I think is a map. It looks like contour lines. And then, yeah, this, you know, the tree with purses hanging off it, and she's got her binoculars to try and find her a purse that she keeps losing. It's just a really beautiful, quite magical composition.
Yes, there's something really lovely about this muted colors as well.
Yes, yeah.
This is another very striking image for me. At first you see the burnt, you know, you see this,
Yes.
this edge at the top, but then like the orange of the burn then leads you to the central figure of this devil.
The little devil.
Yeah, who I believe has been painted. And
Yeah.
yeah, this I have been sort of playing with burnt photos, and so I was very drawn to this. And then the
Yes.
background is so strikingly black, and just yeah, it's just something very powerful again about minimal art. And
Yeah. And actually it looks like it's stuck on with surgical tape, doesn't it?
yeah.
As if there's, you know, there's been an accident or something, there's some surgery that's gone on possibly as well. Janet's produced some beautiful work for this challenge. I mean, Janet always produces beautiful work. There's always a kind of dreamlike quality to it, and this is really lovely. It's kind of grand, isn't it? You know, she's a very proud figure, this woman in the photo anyway, and the crown perched on top of her head just really sort of works with that. And then I don't know if she's used acrylics or oil in the background. It's got a real richness, a really lovely texture. And then, you know, these bits of collage stuck on with the fabric netting around the bottom that kind of softens it a bit. It's a really beautiful piece of work.
Yeah, there's something about the textures as well, which I'm always drawn to. So initially it looks like just painted, and then you see, oh wait, there's buttons, and oh, there's also this tulle netting at the bottom.
Yeah.
The colors work really well all together.
Yes, very subtle.
Oh, this is another really wonderful piece of work. I mean, there's so much in here. Isaac that didn't speak with his words, but he used hands and smiles, and it's almost like a keepsake of everything that he was. And it's just, I don't even know technique wise what's happening here. It's just beyond my understanding. It's just so surreal. I believe, I mean, it looks like the compartments in the box have they been created? Because that's a very thin sort of carte de visite that has been placed
I don't know. I think the CDV has probably just been sort of cut down, hasn't it, to fit into a ready-made slot, because the box looks quite substantial, and that sort of the inner box as well looks like it's a pretty substantial thing. Yeah. So I think they've just found bits that would fit into those slots and maybe sort of cut them down. But you're right, it's a very intriguing piece, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I'm not actually sure what the terracotta type cube at the bottom.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure what that is, but I kind of want to know, so it keeps me looking to try and work out what it is.
It looks like sand. It looks like a marble in sand or something like that. And it's, I have no idea. I would love to touch it and know more.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Tells a story, and we know some of the story because we wrote it, but we don't know all of it. And it's a beautiful composition. I love symmetry, so this works really well for me. Just stunning.
So this is Tanika, who has done a lot of beautiful pieces for the challenge, And this one just really had something extra. So there's the beautiful, I think it's a digital collage in the background. And this was Jerry, the Cornish fisherman who loved many, married none, wasn't it? And he's got this little book of rejected brides. And so in there, she's got, you know, pages of these Cornish fisherwomen, sort of women that have been spurred by Jeremy. And it's just a lovely little touch. I really like the fact that she's gone to the trouble of making this tiny little book that looks so authentic. Really, really fun piece.
Yeah, this is really fun. Again, it tells a really lovely story. Even if you don't know the prompt, you understand that he's had many.
He's a player.
This is our chef, and it's just the simplicity of this composition again, where the image has been put onto a blade, and I think it just wouldn't work with any image. The right composition, the right sort of balance between lights and darks, and it almost creates like the shadow that you would find on a knife if you were trying to take a photo of it, and then that pop of color behind, and the recipe book is just. I know that you also love putting pictures on anything, and so for me this is so fun. This is really fun. It's clearly a photo of a chef, and it's just really well made, I think.
Yeah, and there's just subtle things like, you know, without thinking about it, that the napkin is clearly a napkin or a tablecloth. It immediately sort of subconsciously tells you that it's something to do with the kitchen, doesn't it, or to do with cooking. Yeah, I do. I love putting images onto unusual things. So when I saw this one, it was, the winner. So this one really intrigued me. So this was Erika, our detective with an impossible task, wasn't it? And there's loads of things I loved about this. So, you know, the painting on the photograph for a start really makes her stand out, which she does anyway, because she's the only female. Well, actually, no, it looks like number 5 could possibly be female, doesn't it, from the haircut style? But as far as we can see, she's the only female in there. And it's different. It's a sort of variation on negative space, because it's not cut out. So in that sense, it's not sort of negative space, but you're seeing the outline of the people, and it's always just really mysterious when you don't have the details to tell you who it is you're looking at. And yeah, I think it was a really good idea that Emily had, to have this sort of half photo and then half the kind of imagined the spaces of the missing people. Really intriguing.
Yeah, and it says 14, and I believe there's 14 people in the picture, and I want to know what it means. What is it? Why? It's the mystery of the detective, I guess. Yeah,
yes.
Really beautiful. Oh, this is really interesting. That it's a needle book, which I wasn't quite sure what it was, but then there's more images on Kirsty's Instagram, and you can see that it opens up into a little booklets, and you can slide your needles in there. And the way it's been stitched around with multiple stitches, and the photo pops up from these patterns that are ripped, and it's just such a beautiful image. I love anything circular as well, so I'm quite drawn to this for that reason. But yeah, it just works so well.
Yeah, the various layers of, you know, the stitched bits with that strip of pins in the old paper as well. And I just like the caption. I like your swatch. It's just really odd, isn't it? Nicely odd.
Yes, yeah.
And that texture behind that old linen that the needlebook's made out of is beautiful. It took me ages to work out this one, you know. I initially thought this was a digital collage, and then I looked at it on my computer and really kind of looked into it, and it's not. So the top part, I think, is one photo. The cooking implements on the paper is one, and then Beck has carefully cut out the bottom part of that. So she's cut around all of the prongs on the forks and what have you, to make them stick out over the other photos beneath. So there's a huge amount of work that's gone into that, and I just find it really enchanting. I mean, the images, I love the picture of the old cutlery anyway, is just really beautiful. But then, yeah, sort of overlaying it over this school picture. So this was for the the cooking school prompt, wasn't it?
Yes.
It's, yeah, really, really lovely composition.
Yeah. Gosh, I'm looking at it and now seeing what you mean about the the knives being cut out, because I
Yeah,
thought that the whole top part was digital, but actually
yeah.
it's probably not.
No, it's not. No, this is a photograph that she's actually, yeah, been. It's called fussy cutting, isn't it? When you stick very carefully to the edges. Yeah, that's what she's done. It's really amazing.
That's impressive, definitely. This is really pretty. I think I would have loved this in my bedroom as a kid. Probably still do. It's just
Mm.
a nice object. I think there's
Yeah.
obviously the prompt was of an opera singer with the voice of an angel, and so the touch of the wings made with feathers, and then this little bit of driftwood where she's standing on, and the stars and the notes coming out. It's just exquisite for me.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I'd like to touch it. I'm wondering if those notes are on a wire and they sort of bob about if you touch them. It looks like they might move in a breeze or something, doesn't it?
yes, I can see that.
I love 3D collages. I think they're, yeah, just beautiful. Oh, so this one, in the book we've got a section. We've got a section on working with nature, and we've got a section on containers, haven't we? And this one, it combines two of the things that I know that we both love. So it's cut out of a book, isn't it? A little bit like your project when you've got stuff in the book as well, actually. And it's just a beautiful composition. So those two twigs on the right hand side that she's sort of peeping from behind. So this was, the prompt was Kristen lived in the forest and bathed in the streams or whatever, wasn't it? I can't remember the wording. So there she is, this sort of shy woman hiding amongst the trees with her friend the squirrel, and then the broken hazelnuts at the bottom that have been eaten. Maybe she, that's what she lives on, or maybe it's the squirrel's food. In just those sort of two apertures, it tells you a lot of the story, doesn't it? It's really beautiful. And then the green of the book, representing the forest that she lives in. I don't know what those words mean. It's some German words there which I don't know what they translate to. It'd be intriguing to know if they are relevant.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, of course. I just assumed it was the book title, but it might actually be relevant. That's right. I'm sure. What I think is also really interesting about this is that the boxes are the cutouts are different sizes, which I think is a nice touch. And the fact that she's not central, but she's like just peeking out. Again, subtle, but I think it makes the image much more appealing than if she was in the middle of the.
Absolutely, yeah.
We said we like 3D. I also love 3D, and there's something about this that I find very, very interesting. It's like our photograph cubes from the book, and each face of those cubes has a different image of Shorty the clown, so that when you turn them, you get 4 images, but in fact you can have combinations of them where heads are mixing with different feet and bodies, and it's just really fun. And the elephant on one leg at the very top makes it just so whimsical, and it's just delightful.
And Shirley had to work out how to put a wire through the wood and up into the elephant to get that balance, which looks completely unbalanced, doesn't it? Which is just perfect. I love everything about this one. So it's it's a fabric print, which always gives such a beautiful texture, and then she's painted on top of it to sort of blend it a little bit more, which gives a really lovely aged feel, with those vintage rulers and tape measures and things at the bottom. But the real sort of stunning piece for me is the wrapped safety pin. So in her Instagram post, she makes reference to Alice Fox, who is an artist whose work I absolutely love, and she often wraps these things. And Hella sort of points out, it's something that she's been inspired to have a go at herself there. And it just works so well, doesn't it? It's a beautiful piece anyway, even without that safety pin, but that really, really makes it. It's a piece of equipment that a tailoress would use, and it's wrapped in silk. You know, it just really, really works, and it just balances the whole composition as well.
Yeah, yeah, this is exquisite. I absolutely love it. There's the the measuring tape that is literally just, I think it's just a thread of
Yeah,
cotton bud.
absolutely. Yeah.
Right, the perfect scale, really.
Yes.
And I remember this artist saying to us at the beginning that she thought that the challenge was difficult. She didn't think she could make it, and she has been producing consistently amazing work. So I'm very pleased she joined. This is beautiful.
Do you know, every now and then you see a piece of art and you think, I wish I'd made that. I wish I'd made that one.
Yeah. Oh, this is a digital collage that I absolutely love. There are so much in here. This is a story of Buana, who was a teacher and collected pencils, and so you've got all those elements just intertwined in there. I love when artists play with transparencies, which is beautiful to do when you make collages using tissue paper or even transfers. But this one, I believe, has been done digitally, and you have all these layers, and it's just such a powerful composition, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, the more you look at it, the more you see with this, don't you? This is absolutely beautiful to look at. So the picture she's painted onto the photo, and it's got a real nice kind of chalky look to it, hasn't it? Those sort of pale blues and the whites of the clouds and everything. Really sort of textural, almost like a sort of sea salt kind of texture coming through. And then we've got the, you know, the three women walking across at the front. I think that's a piece of fabric behind them, but I'm not sure. It certainly sort of looks like a sail, maybe from one of the yachts behind. And what I really love is that she's used this piece of netting that looks like it came from a bag of oranges or carrots or something, to represent the fishing net at the front, you know, with those two pieces of rope. Again, it just tells you so much when you glance at that. You know this is about, you know, has it got a nautical theme and fishing and what have you. Yeah, it's some really clever elements all put together beautifully in there.
Yes, it's also the perfect photo for this prompt. I'm not sure where she even found this. It's just perfect. He's walking away, and they are they're this colorful women that are walking away from him, and actually they seem quite content, because that's a nice twist on the fact that we think that he was a bad guy and he didn't marry anyone, but maybe they were happy they were married.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, this is just really stunning. It just ticks all the boxes for me. It's got the muted colors. It's got a cabinet card that has been cut out. We talk about negative space in our book because it's such a powerful, you can really achieve some powerful images with just removing some elements. And the handwriting behind the stamp cut out, which is that pop of color in the middle. It's just really beautiful, and this little string tying it together. I've seen something with a string around it. It's just such a, almost like a just a thin little touch that I think brings it all together nicely, and it holds it together as well.
It kind of, it makes it feel more precious somehow, like it's a gift, doesn't it? Just that simple act of tying the string around it like it is a parcel or something, really elevates it. I think this was the perfect pairing of a photograph and, you know, this textile piece. I'm not sure whether it's digital or analog, because there is a rip line on the photo at the bottom, so I can't see whether it is actually laid over a piece of textile or not. Either way, it's such a beautiful pairing. The way that the sunlight, you know, is so sort of blinding in the middle there, and then you've got all things bright and beautiful, you know, the words working with the image so well. And I'm always really drawn to photographs where the subject is walking away from the camera, because you don't see it very often, do you? You know, almost all photos are face on. So yeah, I really like this. It makes it more sort of intriguing for me that we don't really know exactly who he is. He's walking away from us, but he's walking into goodness and brightness and things that are great and what have you. Yeah, that one really, really struck me.
Yes, yeah. I couldn't put my finger on it. I didn't know what it was that I liked, but I think is that the light that really shines in the middle, and then also blends this this two pieces together. And I have definitely loved a lot of figures from behind throughout the challenge, and I didn't realize what it was about them, but I think it's the mystery, is they're not knowing. It's just similar to the negative space where you remove something. Your imagination needs to fill in the gap, you know. And this is really powerful. This was light and fun for me. It's a collage, but also there's this element of threads that have been wrapped around this figure, and so we are left again imagining what she looks like. And there's something really interesting about how this image was created, adding all these elements and contrasting colors. There's a colorful background, and then the threads on top. It's just, I think, is really fun. It's a fun piece for me.
I'm trying to remember which prompt this one was for.
I think he was the one that married none as well.
Right, I was thinking it was probably that one, because he was the fisherman, so she stood, or they're stood on this tin of tuna, almost like the sort of, the top tier of the wedding cake, where you've got the bride and groom, but in their case it's a tin of tuna rather than a wedding cake. Kind of caught up maybe in his fishing net and tangled up, but he didn't commit to her, did he? We talked a bit ago about simplicity, and this is just another really great example of it, isn't it? So it's a print on fabric, which I always absolutely adore. It looks like a beautiful piece of linen, really slubby texture, and it's a lovely composition that's been used as well, with this sort of this block kind of coming in, just slightly cutting off part of the photograph. And then we've got it on a piece of, it looks like silk behind, so there's this real richness to it. So I'm thinking this was Caro the tailor, from memory. And the most perfect positioning of the needle to create this moustache that's going across. This looks simple, but I bet it took ages to work out, just to get it to look so perfect. And the colours of the pins as well, sort of lifting it. Really, really love this one.
It looks like it's rather zoomed in, because if you look at the needles, the needle and the pins, like, I think the scale of this is telling me that this is actually quite small.
Oh yes.
It makes it more impressive that you can work on such a tiny scale with an image transfer on with the print on fabric. It's really lovely.
So Jack, this is gorgeous. Tell me about this one.
Oh, this is my Bobby had 12 siblings. And as soon as I thought about that prompt with the 12, I thought, oh, the siblings will be numbers on a clock.
Brilliant.
And so I decided I was going to make a clock for myself, for my studio, which is actually hanging there. And,
fantastic.
And it was really fun to just, play freely with collage. I love making collage. We've been quite busy with the challenge, and it was just nice to take the afternoon to just collage on a piece of this is a piece of board that I cut out to shape, and then I ordered my mechanism and put it in, and it's a functioning clock that's just
brilliant.
Really, really fun to make, and trying ish to find photos of brothers and sisters that could look alike. So they're all random photos, unrelated, but I tried to find some elements in the eyes that would tie them in together, like they were a family.
They all look the same period as well, don't they?
Yes.
I mean, that's a great idea. It's a beautiful collage, the colours, I love your sort of grungy kind of papers and what have you. I don't know whether that's the bit just below, it looks like it's start of midnight, MI. I don't know what that actually said, that piece of paper that you've torn there. Maybe it says midnight.
You are my something.
Oh, okay. It looked like MI in the start of a D, but it's not. Okay.
No, it's from an Italian magazine, but it's been ripped, so I don't actually know what it says. But it says it's tu, which is you, il mio, which is my, and I'm not sure what
it's very intriguing. And what a great idea, Jack, though. You could just buying the clock mechanism bit and a piece of card, you could just make it any clocks, couldn't you? It's a lovely idea.
Thank you. Yeah. And it's also finished with a little cold wax. So it does have sort of matte, quite textured feel,
Yes.
which
Yeah,
really nice.
can't beat wax. It's just adds beautiful texture, doesn't it?
That's right. Oh, this is, I absolutely love. It's probably one of my favorites that you've made throughout the challenge. And I know how you made it because there's a beautiful video on YouTube. But I mean, all of it, the sentence that tells a story, the fact that it's been hand painted on top of a real photograph, the crackle effect, that little like stitching just so that she can rest her arm on it. Yeah. Then it's framed beautifully. I mean, this is really impressive. Beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's funny that the little things that made it work. I painted out the background. If you've seen the video on our YouTube channel, you'll have seen what the photo was like before. And she had a table that she was leaning on, but I didn't like it in the composition, so I removed it. But then her arm was just floating in the air. So yeah, I just stitched that line, which just gives her something to rest her arm on, but doesn't sort of dominate the photo, the picture too much. It's a technique that I love doing, painting onto photos. And putting sort of the folds back into the fabric and everything so that it all, you get the highlights in the right places and stuff. And interestingly, so there was 3 of the prompts that, we did half each and of mine that I named after some of my relatives. So Millicent was my grandmother, who was the sweetest woman. Nothing like the person that I'm portraying in this picture, who I think is quite a strong, forceful woman. Yeah, so this is Millicent, who couldn't stand rudeness, and she didn't. But what was funny with this one, so I'd created the picture, and I think I just thought this needed quite a grand setting. So I went into town with a friend, and we spent about 2 or 3 hours going around all the junk shops looking for the frame that I needed, and we couldn't find it. And in the end, I thought, I'm going to have a go online doing a digital frame. And so this was my attempt. I tried to put a shadow to make it look realistic, and there is a bit of a shadow, so it's yeah, it's a bit of a cheat that I framed it digitally because I just couldn't find one that would work for it. But I thought she needed that grandeur.
Yeah, she deserves it. And you fooled me. I totally believed it was real. It's well made.
Hanging on the stone wall of my castle.
Where she deserves to be.
Exactly. I've loved all the work you've done for this challenge track, but this one, it's just stops you in your tracks. It's the size and everything, it's just perfect. And the fact that you've still got that little bit of hat rim to the left behind the skull, it's just brilliant. Absolutely love it. It's very dramatic.
Thank you.
And that red cord around it is everything, isn't it? Without it, I think it would look very, very different. It really, really adds something.
Yeah, it's funny actually, because before I even had the idea about placing the skull behind it, I thought that the magnifier will be held by a piece of string, and this is yarn. So that came quite at the beginning of within my thought process. The idea of the yarn was quite interesting from the beginning. And yeah, this has been tricky to make. This is also been made digitally, the skull, and but it's a 3D piece, and
yes.
it's been fun. But also I had to measure things, which is something I never do. Measuring is a foreign concept for me, but I had to, so I took a photo of the original CDV, and then that photo I put on I digitally added a skull to, which was a tricky thing as well, to find a skull that was the right sort of orientation, and just
absolutely, it's sort of side on, isn't it? Slightly side on.
Yeah, it's not frontal, but it's not like the profile is slightly off. And then I sort of made, you can just about see the eyes are still there, because I just made the image slightly
transparent. Wow, I didn't realize that. Yes.
It's hard to photograph, but
Yeah.
yeah, and that's also how I kept the bit of the hat and
Yes.
a little bit of the collar here, because it is her face, and then I sort of superimposed the
Yeah.
skull to it,
Oh
and
gosh.
it's placed on an old book.
Oh, that makes it even more haunting.
Yeah. Her face is there,
Wow.
just hidden.
Gosh.
Oh, this is really fun. This is lovely. Tell me how you made this.
So this was Isaac, who spoke with his smile, with his hands, with his eyes, but never with his voice. And so it's a little concertina journal. And I really wanted a real softness. The prompt for me was telling me about this quiet man who was expressive, very expressive, but not with his voice. So I wanted to kind of be gently unfolding this person. So yeah, I've created images of of his smile, his hands, and his eyes. And then just put them in this very textural book that's got plaster, and it's got some gold leaf, because I really value this person. It's sort of to bring that preciousness to it. And a real departure for me was using pink. If you look through my Instagram profile, it's nearly all neutrals and a bit of green and blue. Pink really doesn't feature, but this was from a very old, it's a sort of an antique piece of music manuscript, and the cover is a very aged, dusty pink. And I've been holding on to it for years, thinking, what will I use it for? And yeah, I just put a bit of that onto it and thought, oh yeah, that really works to help this sort of this gentle colour palette. And then yeah, there's all sorts of transfers on there, and loads of different layers. It's from my course, the Unfolded Memories course, that I sort of show those techniques. But and it folds up into this little precious sort of cube. And when I put it on Instagram, I did a reel, and I partnered it with Cat Stevens' How Can I Tell You singing. And so the words just really worked. This person that doesn't speak, how can he tell you that he loves you? So yeah, I think that's probably my favorite of the ones that I've made for this challenge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love the pink. I think it goes so well with this, and it's still very muted. It's soft. It's a soft pink, and
yes,
yeah, this is really beautiful.
I'll be using more pink.
You will now. Yes,
I will. Yeah.
Is this silk that you tie it with? Is that?
Yes, it's silk chiffon.
Right.
Yeah. So I thought that it was worth just pointing out that, so we included those photos, didn't we, that people, the free downloads from our website, and this has clearly been the most popular one. There's been a few that have been used a lot. So the lady, if you go sort of 2 across on the top, in her pocket, in his pocket, sorry, that photo there has been used quite a lot of the woman. But this guy, who I'm now calling Isaac, because I used him for Isaac, he's been our favourite for a long time anyway, hasn't he? This gorgeous, smiley man with a gift of flowers. How could you not love him? Yeah. But yeah, so many people have used him. He's really struck a chord, hasn't he?
Yeah. I mean, it's also quite a contemporary image if you think about it. Like, this could have been taken just yesterday, really. And
I think it's a 1950s photo.